What up, everybody? Scuff D here, and today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the US Qualifier tournament that I recently participated in. I've actually got some replays to share throughout the entire series. So, for a quick note, the World Cup Qualifier for the US team, there was qualifiers for I think about 7 different countries. All had the World Cup is a tournament where there's 3 players from each country or region going to represent the team. For countries that have more than 3 players, then you have a qualifier. So the United States had a qualifier. We had 16 participants. It was a double elimination series that took place over about 2 weeks' time for time to get together and match up with your opponents. Now, the World Cup is something that I'm going to be covering in detail throughout the course of its run. We're going to be talking about it on the Warp Chatter podcast with various teams, hopefully from all the different countries. So I'm really looking forward to that. And a lot of skilled players, a lot of skilled opponents, and you're basically getting the best 3 currently to represent their countries and fight for that honor, fight for that prestigious Blood Games card back. If you don't have the Blood Games card back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children, is it down here? Yeah, there's Blood Games 1, Blood Games 2. I'm looking to add Blood Games 3, hopefully, following this run. But, all that aside, so the way it worked here, the format was everybody got to pick 4 warlords that they could take. Titan death was banned, so you didn't have to worry about Titans at all. Your warlords had to be from all different factions. So you have 4 warlords, 4 different factions. And then prior to matchup with your opponents, then you see what their warlords are, they see what your warlords are, and each player selects one warlord that the other player can't use. You basically get a select ban every round. And then you have to win 2 out of 3 games with your remaining 3 warlords. You don't have to play with all 3. But you do have to win with 2 of them differently. So with that strategy, before I show the replays, I kind of want to show you my decks. The decks evolved and mutated slightly between every round, with some changes kind of tailored for some opponents who were maybe running stealth or had more chances of having like stun in their decks. I went with Lucius. For one of my decks. I went with Sigismund for my other deck. Actually, I should just get into the deck screen, shouldn't I? I went with Sigismund for my other deck option. And then for my other 2 options, I went with Corax, which is all the way up here. Corax. And then I also took the Acastus Orlok. Actually, it's not Acastus. I use the Cerastus. That's the name of the deck, but it's Cerastus. Cerastus Erthagen. Not Orlok at all. I should rename this deck completely. So those were the ideas with my decks. And what I did was I tried to pick warlords who could, who were reasonably well statted, had a lot of options, and could respond to things. And I'll be honest, I wasn't too sure about my Knight and my Corax choices. I felt that those could be very heavily teched against, but I felt that, they had good closing. They had a lot of reach. There's a lot of warlords that have got reach, but those are the 2 that I picked to fill out my void. So as you see some games, you're not going to see me play the same 2 over and over again. You're going to see some other games here that play with Corax. I think I played 1 or 2 games with Corax, and then I think I played a Knight game. Most of my games, though, were with Lucius and Sigismund. There were a couple rounds where Lucius was banned. That's okay. The Lucius deck, as I said, these decks all kind of wax and wane. This isn't going to be how I always play Lucius. I've shared a couple deck videos of Lucius before. This is how he currently, I believe, ended the tournament. But a lot of changes here between the cards 2 cost through 3 cost, and a couple of times I would drop out of Odysseus, or I would add in a second 4-drop, whether it was a frontline troop or not. Like, just tech it. I think there was a couple games where I had the the jam card in here, the Adronius, which I never drew, but it was in the deck, and then like concentrated fires in the deck. Like, these are all malleable. There's a lot of malleable. Lucius is very flexible. You can build him a lot of different ways. That's the way he ended. That's not the way this deck started, but that's how I tooled it. And thankfully, you can change your deck throughout the series, the tournament series. So if you've got some matches to make, you can make it. Now the same thing goes for Sigismund. Sigismund, I made less changes. Typically, I would make 2 or 3 card changes throughout the deck, but some of these times, like a couple games, I had double Verklosh Whirlwinds. Once I had the Templar Brethren as opposed to the Phalanx Warders in there. Early game tended to be the same. There was a couple times I think I took a couple like low-cost 2 troops just to get some bodies out there, some extra card draw. I kept the double Arvis. One game I think I dropped one of the Arvises. And like you don't see Melgator in here in this deck, but I think there was one game I put Melgator in because the opponent had some stuff that I wouldn't mind bouncing back to the hand if it was possible, if they ended up playing it. So that was my Sigismund deck. Corax, I hemmed and hawed on Corax for a bit. I played Corax quite a bit prior to his heyday, prior to the current iteration, and then I was like, do I do Mission Corax? Don't I do Mission Corax? I had one build that was Mission. This is the last Corax version that I had, which is a lot more troops than typical, but a lot of stealth, a lot of pings, a lot of setup, a lot of fast troops, kind of banking on maybe a predatory strike with a couple stealth squads in there, or some fast units in there, maybe a fury from above. That was kind of the strategy with that. The knight deck, as I said, I think I played that the least. I think I played one game. I could have played 2. And that was one that I adjusted. This is how it ended for my potential last game. I don't think I got to play this iteration, which I think dropped out one of the tech priests in here, as well as a tech engineer. But this is how it looked at the end. But the knights offer a lot of plasma, rally options, a couple card draw options, a lot of health and healing if possible. Stun removal, super important, obviously, because if you're stunned, you can't use your weapons, so that's super important. And I picked Cerastus because it starts with that extra plasma, and if I play my cards right, with the Overtaxed Reactor or the Martian Emissary, maybe get that Favorite of Mars, then I have enough plasma to do what I need to do. I don't need a lot. I've got the Stormseer Rocket Pod, and some of my matchups had multiple troop builds, so this was kind of a way to potentially get free plasma for playing this, or we've got the Tech Priest, which is also having your weapons cost less. If you played Knights, you understand how that works. That's not new, not shocking. These are the cards I went with. Las Cutters and Flame Cannons are never going to be a bad thing against troop builds, and I think that's the games that I played them in. Battle Cannon is kind of your thing, and then if I needed to tech out, a Tech Engineer maybe would give me a weapon that I could use, but really, the end game reach was going to come from either Corn's Favor or House Maccabeus, maybe even both, if possible. So, with all that shown off, those are the 4 decks here, shown off here. I'm going to go through the replays, highlight what I can, maybe give you some comments, maybe play some music. Some I'm going to speed them up a little bit, not too fast, but there's a lot of games to get through, a lot of fun, good games. And I think the last one I recorded in real time because I had Terse, the TO, asked to sit in on that game, and when a TO asks to sit in on your game, typically, like if I'm playing in a store, I say sure, yeah. I mean, like what objection could I have? The tournament organizer has a reason to be there. They want to sit in. I think he kind of wanted to watch, but I think he had a reason to be there too. So it's like, okay, it's the final. This is going to determine who makes it to Team USA. So yeah, so have fun, watch. Let me know what you think. There's some close calls. There's some misplays. Listen. There's going to be some misplays. There's at least one misclick that I know for a fact that when I did it, I was like, oh. And, you got to recover. And then there's just, hey, this is the game. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes, baby. So, yeah. Hey, and if you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. If you like the video, and pass on word of mouth of the channel to all the people who you play Legions with, spread the word, let them know that we are here still after all this time offering Horus Heresy Legions content, and I hope that you enjoy the content that's provided here in the channel. I want to thank everybody who subscribes, and I want to keep making content for you guys, so I really appreciate anything that can help me bust through that YouTube algorithm. And with that being said, let's get on to the games. So this game was getting off to a good start for the most part. Round one, I was feeling comfortable. I've played Draconic before in a couple different tournaments, Bar Night Legions. I clashed. Actually, I don't know if we did clash in the World Cup 2 qualifiers. I think I did. I might have played him once. I played Zacharias like 3 times or something as a result of the brackets. But needless to say, a good competitive player, and this was going to be a tough game. But as I was getting stuff out and he didn't have a whole lot to respond to, I was feeling pretty comfortable here at this point. I knew that I still had the Phalanx going into my next turn if I need to. I got the stun front line. I've got troops that are just popping things off, and I think he saw the writing on the wall as well. So this was going to be a hard game. Lucius, obviously I'm coming off of the heels of one loss here, and on top of that is Lucius v. Lucius. I'm going first, but I really did not like my opening hand. I didn't have any draw options in there. I really didn't have any troops that I could stick around for a turn, draw fire. So we're just kind of mirroring each other's plays here, turn after turn. And I really think this game, I knew when I was prepping for this game that it was going to come down to Cacophony Squad, which is just a powerful troop in tournaments, but especially when you've got aggressive warlords or fast units. So I included 2 Adronius tactics in my deck. Didn't see them. I'm thinking, all right, well, you know, I've got some options. I've got him on he hasn't played a whole lot of cards from his hand, but that's fine. Okay, he's blowing a stun on a 3 health troop. We can get going. This turn, when I knew my curve was off whack, I wasn't able to throw anything down, 5-drop troop, or even just a hold at all cost. Even though I'm up, I'm not up enough to feel comfortable. And when he played that hold at all cost right there, it's like there's no way that he doesn't have Cacophony in hand, and then he had a pride to follow it up with. So the game is close. I had a lead. The lead is gone. And all I can do at this point is hope that I've got an answer, or I draw an answer. I've got him down to 5 health. Sure enough, there comes the Cacophony. No stun. I've got flank. I don't want to hit 5 into my face. I'm willing to put down the troop and then chance that. So maybe it won't happen the second time. All I need is one of those to hit his warlord, and I could have won this game. And unfortunately, that is not what happened. So this was the this round here took me out of the winner's bracket, put me down to the loser's bracket, double elimination. So now I cannot lose a round, and from there we go. Like all I needed was for that flanker to go right into my face, just to really make it extra spicy. So on to the next round we go. So somehow I survived that onslaught, but that troop there has me concerned, and I'm counting lethal here. At my point, I've got the battle cannon, I've got the Corn's favor, I've got lethal with just enough plasma to make it work, and then I misclicked and played ocular, and I thought I threw it away. I thought I was over at that point. Like, I don't know, I can get to the grav cannon, that's great, but all he has to play is some damage or I was so mad. I was so mad. I thought he was going to follow up there with a just Gunfried, and thankfully he did not. And I actually had the grav cannon, like I could reach beyond his front line. But man, talk about a misclick that almost cost me. So, not the cleanest in-game scenario. This isn't the ideal. This isn't where I want to be. He's got Survivor 2, but I feel like this game, probably between this and my game against Virgil, where it was the Lucius Mirror, I felt were probably the worst draws. I was making it work. If I could get him to that Survivor 2 or hit the lethal, I could do something with that Pride of the Emperor. But yeah, I was really not pleased with my draws here, and he just was burning it just right. So I had to play what I did have. And I figured, well, if I can stun him, he can't follow up. He's already used his Emperor's Executioners. So unless he has got like some random 2 damage and a fast troop, I can survive 1 turn. The question is, with all those cards in his hand, does he have it? Was he going to pull out like the Gunnarsson, which would have given his Warlord Ward? I could have still responded. So thankfully, I had a troop down finally, but that's all he had, and I was able to make use of it. But yeah, not a clean game. Definitely not the cleanest game. So yeah, at this point here, it's not looking great. He's up, and he's got a board. He doesn't have a whole lot of cards in hand, but he's got the front line, and I think that was his big mistake in this game here. I don't know if he realized it, but that round, when he threw away those Phalanx Warders, looking back on this game, that was the do or die. That was the make or break for me. That's where I actually was able to pull ahead. He lost his front line with very thick Bastion that he had been stacking on them, so they lost that. I was able to put down additional frontline, clear his turret. I still got plenty of cards in my hand. That Sukasen, just proving her value. She's protected. It's going to stymie any tactics that he's got in hand. Obviously, he has got a Herrenberg that cost him 4 energy just to be able to play him up, this is a good play. Like that's probably the best play he can make. That's worth the 4 energy or 9 energy total that he did to do that. But I think it really, like, if he would have had those remaining Phalanx Warders out on the board in addition to those guys, I don't know if I could have been able to pull something out here. Even with the cards in my hand, it would have been hard. But the fact that he threw them away early and didn't clear Sukasen, I think cost him the game here. Or at least turned the momentum around, I should say. The game, it was still a good game. This is still tight, you know. He could still pull stuff off. But with 1 card in hand to my 5, like I feel pretty comfortable here, and am able to start finally capitalizing and turning the momentum in my favor for once. Because this game I was on, I was on the back feet, but it was close.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
So there you go. There you have it. That was the last game. It was a pretty nice finish for everything there at the end. Had a really fun time playing in the qualifiers. Really enjoyed the opponents I got to have. I was kind of anxious there at that last round. Once I got moved into the losers bracket, it's do or die, and some good opponents, some good games, but I made it through. So I will be joining Zacharias and Virgil of the 13th, who was the opponent who bested me in the winners bracket. So those guys will both be on the Team USA, and we are looking to play in the World Cup together, represent the United States. Send us your energy if you wish, or send us your ill will if you are voting for another country to play. But we're looking forward to playing the World Cup. That's going to be starting here in about 2 weeks' time. That'll kick off, and as I said, I'm going to try to have as much content coverage on that as I can with the Warp Chatter podcast, talking to the players and the various teams, as well as showing off all the replays after the fact. I'm not going to be doing any streaming, anything live, trying not to share deck list videos, and I certainly don't think that's something that my comrades, my teammates are going to want to do. We want to keep things close to the chest, at least through this tournament series, but appreciate the tournament organizers for running it, hosting it, looking forward to having a good World Cup, good games, and and hope that is entertaining, good stuff. So thank you, and until next time, keep playing Legions.